Hello everyone, myself Mrs. Chetna Patel from LP Samani Vidya Bhavan. Students, in this particular session, we are going to start with the poem. As you can see over here, A Tiger in the Zoo. First, recitation of poem will take place. Second, central idea of the poem will be discussed. And third, explanation of the poem will be followed with the discussion of figures of speech. Is it clear? Okay. Now, first, I will read the introduction of the poem there. This poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with a tiger in its natural habitat. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. Okay. Now, every time when you see the stanza there, you will notice that a particular stanza where you will find the tiger in a zoo, and at times you will find it in the natural habitat there. Okay, right. Now the recitation of the poem will take place. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws terrorizing the village. But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars by Leslie Norris. Okay, now this is the central idea of the poem A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Morris. The tiger is a proud creature. It is a shame that such a powerful, agile, and untamable animal should be caged in a zoo. In his natural and a wild habitat, he doesn't need help of any kind to hunt its own food. His hunting of deer at the waterhole may seem rather cruel. He hunts not for pleasure but for food. His presence in the natural habitat is necessary to maintain the balance of food chain. Sometimes the tiger may stray into human habitation. He only displays his strength and ferociousness, but he doesn't harm anyone till he is provoked. Even in his cage, he ignores all those who come to the zoo to see him as an entertainment. Like human beings, the tiger too loves and values his freedom. He shows his anger, hatred, and even defies by walking about in the rage in his cage. Human progress should not be at the cost of destroying the natural habitats of untamable and proud animals like tiger. Okay, now we'll go with the first four lines. First, again, I will recite and then we'll follow the explanation. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on pads of a velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Okay, now your stalk means to walk in an angry or a proud way. Vivid means different stripes on his body, what you find it there. Okay, so the tiger is bound in his cage. Stripes on his skins are clearly visible. His heels look like the pads of a velvet, and on his pads of velvet He walks quietly within his cage. He doesn't seem to be happy to be in his unnatural abode. Okay, so without showing his anger, he walks around quietly in his cage there. Okay, so here you can see that he walks there, okay, proudly, and that few steps, it's why because of the limited area there. Okay, so he moves on that particular cage where he's been kept there, that's a limited area, and that is why it is said as only few steps there. Okay, and pads of velvet means, pad means the paws which are there, they are soft, like, very soft, and that is why they have been said to be as velvet. Okay, so the velvet and quite without making any noise there. Okay, and in the last line you can see in his quiet rage means without showing his anger there, he moves on quietly in his cage there. Okay, fine. So this is with the first four lines. Okay, now let us discuss the figures of speech in the first four line there. Now we'll go with the first line. He stalks in his vivid stripe. Okay. The figure of speech in this line is alliteration because the letters ST are repeated in stalk and stripes. Okay. Second line, the few steps of his cage. Now the figure of speech in this line is metonymy because the words few steps represent the smallness of his cage. Okay. Now we'll take third and fourth line together of the on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Okay. Now the figure of speech in this line is repetition because the word quiet is repeated in the third and fourth line. We also have metaphor. Metaphor because the softness of the tiger's paw is being compared to the pads of velvet. Okay. We have one more figure of speech here, that is transferred appetite. The word quiet is being transferred from tiger to rage. Okay. In the last line, in his quiet rage, we also have oxymoron. Now, what is oxymoron? Oxymoron is where you have opposite words side by side. Okay. Students, don't get confused with the antithesis and oxymoron. In antithesis, yes, we have two opposite or contrasting ideas within the line. But in oxymoron, we have opposite words side by side. Okay. Here you can see quiet and rage. Rage means anger and quiet silent. Okay. So the figure of speech in this line is oxymoron. Fine. Okay. So that's all for the figure of speech. Now we'll discuss the rhyming scheme. Okay. Rhyming scheme, you know how to identify. You have to see the last words of the line. Now we'll see the last words there. Stripes, cage, quiet, rage. Okay. So stripe and quiet, that doesn't rhyme. So it will be denoted, stripes will be denoted as A, while cage and rage rhyme with each other. Okay. So that will be denoted as B, B. Okay. So the rhyming pattern is A, B, C, B. Okay. A, B, C, B. Stripes and quiet doesn't rhyme with each other. That is why they have been denoted as A and C. Okay. I think we have the same rhyming scheme throughout the poem in all the five stanzas there. Okay. Okay. So I hope it's clear with the first four lines there. Okay, now we'll go with the second stanza. He should be lurking in shadow. Lurking here means waiting, and shadow means darkness. Okay, so he should be lurking in a shadow, sliding through the long grass. Sliding here means moving quietly, and where it is moving, moving towards its prey. Okay, near the water hole. Now, in the in the natural habitat, you find this water pool there, okay, where the animals come to quench their thirst there, okay. So here, where it is moving through the long grass, and it is moving near the water pool where the animals come to drink water there. Okay, and who is waiting over there? Where the plump deer pass. Plump here means fat. Okay, where the fat deer have come to drink water there. Okay, now see, the tiger knows how to hunt his prey. He doesn't attack by challenging his prey directly. He lies in the shadow of the trees, and that is why it is said sliding through the long grass. Okay, and it is unseen to his victims. So the deer is not aware that the tiger is around in the long grass there. Okay, and what he does, he slides, he moves silently through the long grass before charging upon his hunt. Okay, so before charging means before catching hold of his prey. And how he reaches over there? He reaches silently to the water hole where the plump, that is a fat deer, and when a well grown up deer come to drink water there. Okay, so this is how it moves on to catch its prey. Now here in this second stanza, where do you find the tiger? We find the tiger in the natural habitat there. In the first one, we find the tiger in the zoo there. Okay, fine. Okay, this is about the second stanza. Now let us discuss the figures of speech. Okay, now we'll go with the first two line. You should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass. Okay, now the figure of speech in this line is alliteration, because this consonant sound of sh is repeated in should and shadow. Okay, we also have internal rhyme. Here we have the rhyming words lurking and sliding there. Okay, so we have two figure of speech, alliteration and internal rhyme. Okay, near the water hole where the plump deer pass. Again we have alliteration. Okay, because the consonant sound of p is repeated in plump and pass, and also the consonant sound of w is repeated in water and they there. Okay, and as I've told you before, the rhyming pattern you can see over here, shadow and hole, that doesn't rhyme, so a and C. Grass and pass, BB. Okay, so the rhyming pattern is ABCB. Okay, fine. So this is all about the second stanza. Okay, moving further with the third stanza, he should be snarling around house. Now, the snarling over here means making an aggressive growl, showing teeth. Okay, at the jungle's edge. Edge means where it has entered the natural habitat of the human beings there. Okay, bearing his white fangs, his claws. Bearing here means opening. Okay, not covered with. Okay, not covered with, and white fangs means two long sharp teeth. Okay, so bearing his means opened his mouth wide open, showing his white teeth. Fangs means teeth, and his claws, and terrorizing the village. Okay, terrorizing means fearing the, or creating a fear among the villagers. That means what? He had been bound in his cage, but the tiger would have been roaming around freely if it is not kept in a cage there. Okay, and he should have been growling around the houses of the human settlement at the outskirts of the jungle, that is the edge of the jungle. Okay, and he may have entered the habitat of the humans there. Okay, and there he would have opened up his sharp long white teeth and paws in just to terrorize the villagers there. Okay, so now in this particular stanza, where you will find the tiger in the natural habitat. Okay, now it is kept in a zoo. If at all, if it is not bound in his cage, he would have roam about freely. Okay, growling there, with his mouth wide open, showing those claws and teeth there, and terrorizing the village there. Okay, so this is all about the third stanzas. Okay, Now the figure of speech, he should be snarling around the houses at the jungle's edge. Now first we have onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia because the word snarling suggests sound. Okay, it's an onomatopic word there. That is why. Fine. The second figure of speech we have it over here is alliteration because the consonant sound of H is repeated in he and houses. Okay. We also have internal rhyme because we have the rhyming words like he and be there. Okay, then moving on to the next two line, daring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Okay, now the figure of speech in the last line you can see exclamatory. Okay, so exclamation mark, so that is what. Okay, so the figure of speech in this last line is exclamation. Okay, we also have internal rhyme. Okay, so the rhyming words bearing and terrorizing are being used in the sentences there. Okay, fine. We also have repetition. The word his is repeated for the poetic effect. Again you will find the rhyming pattern as a B C B. Houses and clause doesn't rhyme. Edge and village. Okay, so the rhyming pattern is A B C B. Okay, so this is all about the third stanza. Okay, now moving on with the fourth stanza. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars. Okay, now tiger is considered to be a very powerful animal, but unfortunately, the tiger is not left free in the jungle, but he is locked in the cage made of cement and concrete in a zoo. Okay, and because of that, what happens? His unbound strength is caged in behind the bars, as if his power, his strength is being wasted. Okay, by keeping him under lock, that is in a concrete cell which is made up of cement there. Okay, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Okay, now here stalking means again moving. Okay, since he is kept in a cage, he has a very limited place to move around. Okay, so he walks around arrogantly, ignoring the visitors. That shows that he is not happy at all when the people come to see him or to watch him for an amusement there. Okay, so stalking means walking there, stalking the length of his cage. Length of his cage means he has a very limited area in the cage where he's moved on. Okay, so the tiger who is been considered as a very powerful animal, a mighty animal, where his strength is being wasted by putting him into the cage there. Okay, and so he is not happy at all. And when the people come in the zoo and then they visit, he is arrogantly ignoring the visitors. That shows his, unhappiness. He doesn't like at all there. Okay, fine. Okay, now let us discuss the figures of speech there. But he is locked in a concrete cell. Okay, here the figure of speech in this line is metonymy. The word concrete cell represents the cage of a tiger there. Okay, then moving on to the next line, his strength behind bars. Okay, here we have alliteration because the consonant sound of B is repeated behind and bars. Okay, fine. Then moving on to the next two lines, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitor. Again, here we have internal rhyme. We have the rhyming words like stalking and ignoring are being used in the same sentence for the poetic effect there. Okay, so this is all about in the fourth stanza. Okay, okay. Now in the previous stanza we saw where the tiger was found. the tiger was found in the zoo there. Okay, now moving on further with the last stanza. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars. Okay, now yes, zoo is a place where the animals are being kept on and they are being taken care of. Okay, so when it is a night, there is a last voice being heard there. Okay, so he hears the last voice, and even he could see the cars been patrolling to ensure that all the animals are safe. Okay, so during the night, what happens? The cage tiger hears the last voice of those patrolling car, but he doesn't pay attention at all, and what he does, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Okay, being locked in the cage, he looks towards the sky. He goes on staring the brilliant stars that are shining freely in the sky like his brilliant eyes. Okay, you must have seen the eyes of the animals, especially during the night time in the dark. How do they appear? They appear, or they sparkle, they shine bright, like the precious stones and all. Okay, and that is why it has been said the eyes are being compared here with the stars there. Okay, so and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So as we have seen in the previous stanza where he's ignoring the visitors, similarly when he hears the patrolling car, okay, he ignores that patrolling car, and just because he doesn't have any choice, he stares, he looks constantly at those stars which are shining freely in the sky, like a brilliant stars there. Okay, fine. So this is what is been said in the fifth stanza. And where do we find the animal or the tiger? We find him in the zoo there. Okay, fine. Okay, so as I've said, again the rhyming pattern is same there. Okay, A B C B, because night and eyes doesn't rhyme, and cars and stars there. Okay, now let us discuss the figures of speech there. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling car. Okay, voice here represents onomatopic word. Okay, so the figure of speech here is onomatopoeia. We also have alliteration because the consonant sound of H is repeated in his and yours. Okay. Moving on to the last two lines, yes, we have repetition because the word brilliant is being repeated, okay, for the poetic effect. Okay, we also have metonymy because there is indirect comparison between eyes of the tiger and stars. Okay, and the point of comparison is brilliant. Brilliant here means bright, sparkling, shining. Okay. Okay, so what message do we get from this poem? From this poem, we come to know that animals like to live freely in the forest. The animals do not want to live in the zoo. Their life is pitiable in it. Yes, students. See, freedom is such an essential virtue that is valued not only by human beings but also by animals alike. Yes, see, a bird kept in a golden cage would also not be happy there, because after all it's a cage. Though it is a golden cage, but still it is a cage and it is kept under captivity. Okay, so nobody would like to be under captivity. Yes, it is right that the zoos, sanctuaries are being built for the protection of animals and birds, but still everybody loves freedom. Okay, everybody wants their own freedom, and we have seen through this poem that the tiger in a natural habitat would move freely and would be a more happier animal than it is kept in a zoo there. Okay, so this is all about the poem A Tiger in a Zoo. Okay, that's all. Thank you.